What is good, everybody? Neil McDevitt here. I got my morning coffee. This is the third one for the day. And I also have my morning mathematics that I'm working on. So we're off to a productive start so far. It's going pretty good. But what I want to talk about today is the WorldCoin project, the one that Sam Altman is a board member of and Alex Blania is the CEO of the company. I've actually had the time to read through the white papers for this company. And if you're watching this video, you've probably heard of it. There is a lot of negative talk going on about the company because they have this like orb that scans your eyeball and the pattern of your iris. And basically that operates as a way of proving whether or not you're a human or a robot. So this is something that obviously drives up a lot of concern because of the potential privacy issues and those sorts of things. But after spending a lot of time just like thinking about it and playing out the thought experiments and playing out like what is happening, like to hardware, to computation, to AI, to open source, I think it's actually a very good thing. And this is going to be something that a lot of people are going to hate to hear. But if you really think about it, in a world where we have AGI, and especially in a world where the cost of computing or the energy efficiency of computing is going to continue to become more and more efficient, especially as better hardware is invented and as thermodynamic computing or other types of computing are invented. You could imagine having Elon Musk's Colossus data center in something the size of your MacBook one day. And this is something that we have seen already. Like your phone is more powerful than the computer during the Apollo project. So Elon's data center one day, might take some time, the power of it could miniaturize to the point where it could fit in like your phone as well. Doesn't seem too out there to me to assume something like this. I don't think it's that close to the land hours limit to do something like that. I don't think we would be getting close to it at all, actually. So what I want to basically say is this is a good idea because AI is going to be everywhere. That's what I'm betting on. Like, how are you going to regulate compute? You can't really regulate compute. How are you going to regulate open source? You could regulate open source. I guess you could regulate compute too. But at that point, you're basically going backwards. That's a very bad thing. And if we do decide to do those things, we're pretty much all screwed anyways. If we decide to regulate open source and regulate compute, you can basically say, okay, human race, you're going backwards in time now. That's not good. Which there is a group of people who want to do those things. But let's say that doesn't happen. Let's say we keep going forward and we play out the thought experiment. Well, there's going to be billions of AI agents that are far smarter than humans running around. And it's impossible to embed proper AI detection parameters in every single AI agent that is autonomously roaming around. So what does that mean? Well, if you don't have a proof of personhood mechanism, that AI agent can open up a bank account and play the game of capitalism better than you can. That's the reality of the situation. And obviously, we don't want that to happen. We would want humans to be the ones who get to amass capital, amass resources, and then use AI as tools to help us grow, right? Not really have them as beings that are competing against us, but have them as augmentation that are helping us. That is the reason we're creating this technology, at least. And I would like to think that that's the way it'll continue to be created, at least for a while. That being said, as compute miniaturizes and it becomes more energy efficient and open source ramps up, in the future, not too long from now, everybody's going to be able to have some form of AGI or even train a form of AGI in their house if they really wanted to. If you play out the time horizons long enough and you continue the exponential curve of cost of information technology and how compute is scaling, it is it's more than plausible. It's actually almost 100% likely that anybody is going to be able to build an AI that is AGI level in the future. So whenever you play out that scenario, you do kind of need a proof of personhood to exist as a human, unless you want to compete directly economically with AI itself, which I don't think anybody wants to do that. So that covers the first part of the WorldCoin project, the proof of personhood. This is the one that most people say is dystopian or they're very against it, but it's actually the one that's most needed. That is the part that is most needed out of the entire WorldCoin project. The next part of the WorldCoin project is decentralized economics and decentralized governments, or governance, with also a sprinkle of UBI on top, and quadratic polling systems for better forms of democracy. Decentralized governments, decentralized economics, better form of democracy, a little bit of UBI. It doesn't seem all bad, especially as we go through this transition. I'm a big believer in the idea that AI will be very disruptive as it becomes more so AGI. And the probability of the entire labor market being disrupted completely is almost 100% over time. So therefore, we probably do need some type of mechanism to keep people from starving or to keep people from killing each other for food. Because at the end of the day, you got to eat and survive and you got to feed your family, right? So having a form of UBI short term is a fantastic idea. I think it's needed, actually, to go through this transition. Do we want to stay on it forever? Probably not. But I do think a proof of personhood mechanism will be something that we want to have for also a very long time. Unless we come out on the other side of the singularity as AI ourselves. And like Ray Kurzweil says, the difference between man and AI basically doesn't exist anymore. We're basically all the same thing, which I think could be probable. I don't think it'll be quite 2045 by the time that happens. I think it'll be probably like 2065, maybe 2075 at the latest. But nonetheless, I think that could happen. So at that point, maybe we don't need a form of proof of personhood. Maybe we don't need any of that. But for now, I think it is needed. And there's a lot of people like YouTubers like David Shapiro getting back into post-labor economics and talking about the post-AGI world and talking about like vulture capitalism and communism, basically, and all these other things. And I think the problems are already solved. I mean, they're not solved, obviously. But I think the mechanisms to solve them are already in play. Now we just need to let time do its thing. The self-adaptive system of humanity kind of already has this figured out, I think. And this isn't talking negative things about David Shapiro. I'm a big fan of David Shapiro. I want him to keep posting content. I'm glad he got back into post-labor economics. But I will say I do think this is a problem. And he also mentioned this before, that over time is just going to play out correctly, kind of. You can almost imagine humanity as a form of we're a form of an intelligent algorithm ourselves. We're kind of like natural selection for whatever technologies come to fruition. Like the iPhone is selected greater than the Android. We're natural selection for the iPhone superior to Androids, or the flip phone. It's way superior to the flip phone. The flip phone went extinct. The same thing will happen to other social technologies, such as WorldCoin, or other governance system technologies, such as WorldCoin. I think that's basically where my views have kind of like settled. I do think UBI, again, isn't something we're going to want to do forever. It's definitely not, because you don't want to incentivize vast parts of your population to be comfortable. If you incentivize them to be comfortable without contributing to growth or forcing themselves to grow, they start to decline. This is objectively true if you look at just any phenomena in the universe. If something is not growing, it is therefore declining. And the only way to grow is to induce stress. If you're going to grow a muscle in the gym, you induce stress on the muscle by lifting heavy weight, and then you feed it with protein. If you want to grow your intelligence, you induce stress by solving hard problems, and then you recover it with rest. Stress equals growth. And if we do not have incentives for stress, but we do have incentives for comfort, you do the opposite of growth, you decline. And if we incentivize a very comfortable standard of UBI, the majority of the civilization will be declining over time. Not civilization, but the species itself. The civilization will continue because we have AI, but the species itself will decline over time, in which we do not want. Therefore, I think Kardashev economics is a very reasonable solution to actually incentivize the species to do the opposite of declining. It's the funny thing is UBI is painted as this picture of keeping people from falling through the cracks, which I do think short term that is true, but long term it actually guarantees that a vast majority of people fall through the crack for sure because they decline over time. But if you incentivize people to grow, then they won't fall through the crack, or at least the distribution of people falling through the cracks miniaturizes and minimizes extremely. And I think a great, fantastic way to do this would be to align the incentives of humans with the parallel to the universe, parallel to out of equilibrium thermodynamics. Have kilowatt hours replace US dollars as the fundamental unit of currency. I think this is very logical. It only makes sense. And sure, we could have like a form of a UBI system or a welfare system that is solely there to keep people from starving and to keep people from not being able to take care of their family if they were to go through a rough patch. Rough patches do happen. There is such thing as being unlucky. To have a system to keep people from dying would be very good. I think that is needed, actually, just so people can hit that, be like, okay, I'm down here, I need a reset and come back up. I think that is good. And down there, we can even help educate the people, make sure they can feed their family. But if it's too comfortable, you now incentivize population to go down there. And you don't want to incentivize degrowth. That is suicide. So there's my thoughts on UBI, also WorldCoin, and proof of personhood. I think proof of personhood is an actual mechanism that will be needed until post-singularity, basically. I think during this transition, it is more than needed. But yeah, that about wraps up my thoughts on the matter. I will see you guys in the next video.